Record. So, hey everyone, we're on our joint call. I have Izzy Bradshaw, who's the #1 UK coach, on the call with me today, and I'm Emma Chase. I'm actually in Arizona, so we are cross-continental right now, which is pretty cool. So, Izzy, did you want to say something to kick us off?
Yes, I definitely do. We have been really excited over here in the UK. And as Emma said in her little announcement, we met one another in Arizona. And Emma and I don't know, there was something about her, we just kind of clicked and we kept in contact. And then we said, oh, we should do each other's calls. And so Emma is going to talk to all of you, my team and your team, today about how she's built her success. In the terms of kind of being a single mother, 3 children. It kind of took my breath away in Arizona. But before she does that, I'm just going to cover off what she has achieved with her business, which is truly incredible. So she's a 10-star coach. She's 3-star and 1-star in 2 of her other business centers. She is 3 times elite and 2014 and 2015 top 50. She is Million Club, which means that she's earned $1 million with her Beachbody business. She's a Success Club 10 All-Star legend, and she's a 3-time Summit presenter. So I don't think we've ever had anybody quite like you speak on our call, and we're super excited to hear all that you've got to share with us. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Lindsay. Lindsay's my good friend here in Arizona. She just commented. She's the best. It's so fun to meet people that cheer for you and root for you, right? And some of the accolades that you also don't know about me is I'm addicted to peanut butter. If I can't find it at Target, then I don't buy it. Like I'm actually just like your normal mom that's just figured out a way to muddle through life. And I think that's important. So if it's okay with you, a big part of what I think you guys all want to know about me is that I am, or about what you guys want to take away from this call today, is how did I do this with 3 kids at home, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just going to share a little bit about my own background and all of that. So when I was growing up, I had kind of a troubled childhood. I was a really good kid, just had a lot of family stuff going on. And it was just really instilled in me at a very early age that if anything was to happen, I needed to make it happen. I was very independent and resourceful, and my parents taught me to be very capable on my own. So that's great. So I graduated from high school, and I was kind of at the top of my class, got full ride academic scholarship to college, went to college, and got to this place in my life where I just kind of quit on life, right? And it started this cycle of failure. And if you've ever experienced being a habitual quitter and failure, I got you. I know how that works. And I found myself really lost in a lot of areas of my life. But one of the things that always helped me to come back and remind me of my strength and things was fitness. I grew up as a gymnast and cheerleader, and I found my power through working in the gym and pushing myself when no one was watching and all that. And so that kind of just carried on with me. And then eventually, at one point in my life, I was literally homeless, bankrupt, living in my car, an alcoholic. Like, I should be dead. But I'm not. I'm still here. And so when I tell you that, like, you can rise up from anything, I really believe that because I have. But nobody is going to come and do it for you, and nobody's going to save you. So if you want this dream to happen for you and your family, then you need to make sure that you're the one that is spearheading this thing, and you're the one that's moving forward to success, okay? So fast forward a little bit, and I'm now married, and just prior to starting my Beachbody career, I had been in that habitual quitting cycle. I had started another MLM where I went all in, quote unquote, because I thought that's what you did. You went and bought the $5,000 inventory, and I stacked it on my shelf, and I was hosting parties and whatever, and I literally hated it. I hated every bit of it. And so I lost all the money from that and just quit that business. So this is kind of the mindset that I had when I was presented with Beachbody. Now, what was the reason why this seemed so special to me was that Beachbody came into my life when I desperately needed it. I had 3 kids that were really tiny, plus 2 stepsons that were a little older. I was living on an island because my ex was military and he was on deployment. And I saw an infomercial for a workout program, and I desperately needed something to change my life. And I needed to have some hope in myself because I was severely depressed and overweight and felt really lost because of this history of failure, quitting, losing myself after motherhood, and all of these different things, right? So I started the fitness program at home. It was Turbo Fire. Yeah. And I got in great shape, got abs, was in Hawaii, hiking up the mountains with literally a baby on the front pack and a baby on the back pack. My boys are a year apart, and my daughter holding my hand. And we were adventuring, and everybody's like, what the heck are you doing? And so I started sending them to Amazon to order over and over and over again. And one of my friends finally said, Emma, why don't you become a coach? I'm like, I don't even know what that is, but I'm not doing it because it's a home-based business and that sucks. And I'm not selling things to people. After investigating what this actually was, I joined about 9 months later. So it took a long time for me to really go, okay, this could be something. I joined in 2011. My husband was on deployment. My kids were age 1, 2, and just turned 5. So they were all home with me, and that is not a good time to start anything, because if you know, it's zooey. And for me, I had a deep-rooted belief that, like, a core value of mine was my kids would never go to childcare. They just wouldn't, because of stuff that had happened. And that was for me, and that's not everybody's choice. Some people like to send their kids to preschool and daycare, so I'm not saying that that's a wrong choice. It was not ever going to be my choice, period. It just wasn't. So we were in the position of being extremely in debt and living less than paycheck to paycheck. Like, I was writing checks for diapers and they were bouncing. It was scary. And my husband couldn't get another job because he was in the military. I had to figure something out. It was up to me to save our family. What the heck was I going to do if I didn't want to send my kids off to daycare? So I was babysitting kids and whatever. But anyway, Beachbody was presented. I'm like, I like fitness. I'm doing this anyway. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen? Write that down. Like, what's the worst that can happen if you try something new? Because that was kind of a theme throughout my business. And I learned that if you just kind of think about it that way, like, why not? Why not try it? What if it actually freaking works? Then what? Where will you be? So 2011, I joined, and I just was really excited about hosting challenge groups. That was like my jam. And so I got to the end of 2012, the very end of 2012, and I was hosting a bunch of challenge groups, and I got to Ruby coach level, and was keeping my little kids home with me and just having a lot of fun. I started a local fit club where we just met up and worked out, and it was a good time. And I made $11,000 in 2012. But then January 2013, I woke up January 1st and I said, if I'm going to do this and I'm going to take time and energy away from my children, I'm going to figure out how to be really successful. And I remember reaching out to my upline coach, and I was like, how much do you make? And she told me, and I was like, what? You make that much? And so I was like, shoot, how do I do this? And so I realized that if I was going to be successful in this, I was going to be my ceiling, and I had to have a team. And so the success of the team would equal the success of my dream. I had to figure out how to get my team moving. So January 1 of 2013, my daughter is now in kindergarten. I have my 2 little boys still at home, and I decided to go all in. So what that meant was I gathered my team together. Anybody that was willing to work at all, I was like, come on, guys, let's do this. We started running push to emerald groups, push to diamond groups every single month or every other month. And I was posting an incentive every month for something different. First one to hit Success Club 10, highest recruiter, best physical transformation, read the most personal development books. And I was just sending out prizes for all of these different things. So I was getting everybody excited to do the basic behaviors that we're supposed to do and rallying the troops together. End of 2013, I went from Ruby to 5-star elite in that year. And my income went from $11K to $47,000. During that year, we also moved from Hawaii to California. So that wasn't easy. And then in 2014, we're in Monterey. My husband is in school at the time. I still have my kids. One of my other sons started school, so I still have one at home. And alcoholism spiked. It was a really hard year for my ex. And it was a really hard year for us. And it came to a head in the middle of the year, and I actually had to leave with my 3 kids, pack them up literally in the night and take our stuff and leave to get away from a volatile situation. So I didn't know where to go. So I went home to Idaho, which is where I'm from, which is, if you don't know, that's like a 14-hour drive. I went through the night. I arrived on a Saturday. That Monday morning, I spoke on the national wake-up call. And it was just one of those pivotal moments in my life that I had to get my kids out of that situation. I had to find my power in order to take care of us and protect us. And I spoke on the national wake-up call and shared just what I had been doing to build my business and how I went from Ruby to 5-star elite, right? And basically it was just showing up. And I'm going to go through like my day, like how I'd structured my day and the activities I did in just a second. But I think the story is important because there were so many trials. There was no stability. My ex hated my job. He was very negative in my ear every single day telling me to quit. I knew I shouldn't. I knew I needed this, and I did, because Beachbody was my positive outlet, like what I could control, what I could influence, what I could put my mark on when everything else felt out of control. And it gave me this place to be creative and to be myself and to do good for the world and to allow my brain to do something other than ABCs and Elmo songs, all day. And it allowed me to be like a professional and be a mom. And how I switched between those, I'll talk about in just a second. Okay, so I'm going to speed through the rest. So 2014, I ended at Elite again as an 8-star diamond coach. Our income rose to like 110,000. And then in 2000, and I also had to move to Idaho, and then I moved back. So my littlest one started kindergarten in 3 different schools because we moved California to Idaho, back to California, and that was really hard. And then 3 months later, we moved to Arizona and retired my ex because he got sober, and we were like, yay, sober, it's going to be great. And I had major surgery on my nose. I broke my nose and some other things, but our family was falling apart, and Beachbody was our stability. But our income still rose. My business still grew because it was my thing I dove into when everything was out of control. And I spoke at Summit that year. And then 16, I spoke at Summit, and whatever. We ended up getting divorced and remarried, and the last couple of years aren't as important because I kind of took a hiatus. In 2017, I traveled for 70% of the year. And because I was on vacation, so was my business. I'll just say that. So your business will do what you're doing. It's kind of funny that way. So I won't go through the rest of that, but that's just kind of my story. It's been a story that's been really rocky. Very little stability. My family isn't here to help me with my kids. I was, married and divorced and all that kind of stuff. And then dealing with a lot of outside crap that I'll probably never, ever share. So here are some of my tips that I went through, and I thought about, like, how the hell did I do that? How did I do that? How did I raise kids? And my kids, I'm proud of who my kids are because they're really good kids. You can ask people that meet them. They're hardworking and they're kind, and they're the things you want your children to be. And so if I was going to go back to my younger self, here's the things I would tell myself if you want to start taking notes now. Number 1, plan your day around the kids. And it's important to be present and flexible. And if you have little ones at home, you know that it's crazy. There's going to be so many things that come up. They're going to get sick. They're going to be cranky, whatever. They're going to have a meltdown about wanting to watch whatever, play paints. And you're going to be like, no, mommy has to do this. Da, 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 da. But honestly, plan your day around them, because it's gone. It's like gone so fast. My kids are older now, and I do not regret at all making them the number 1 priority. I don't. So what my day kind of looked like is I would get up between 5 and 5:30 every morning, and I knew I needed to start it off with like a miracle morning kind of thing. Miracle morning, I didn't know what that was, but then I found the book and it's great, so go get it. So, but I was doing that. You read your goals, you read your affirmations, and because I was in an abusive relationship, it was even more important that I read my goals and affirmations because I was combating the other voices that were coming at me in my home. And so I had to make sure that I was mentally strong and focused on the right things. And you need to do that too, because you're combating social media, the haters, the naysayers, your own self-doubt, your own limiting beliefs. You're combating so many things. So you really do have to start your day off with that intent. Get up before your kids get up. Okay? Instead of being the grouchy mommy that's like, don't talk to me until I've had my coffee. Don't do that. You don't want your kids remembering mommy being such a grouch butt in the morning. Get your butt up. Get up and get moving, get your head right, because they deserve to have a happy mom. They just do. And think about this. When they grow up and they go off and they talk about you, what do you want them to say about you? Okay, you get a small window. Look at this small. And granted, I'm not perfect. I suck all the time. It's fine. I yelled at my kids last night and had to apologize because, that happens. But anyway, plan your day. So I would get up early, affirmations done, goals done. The first thing I would pray, meditate. Then I'd go out in my cold garage and start working out. Depending on the age of my kids, they usually got up during that time and would come find me in the garage working out or in my living room working out. And if they needed snacks or whatever, I'd push pause, put them in the high chair, put some Cheerios and fruit on their tray. They would eat while I would finish, and they just knew that's just kind of what mommy did. Then when I was done and I'm all sweaty, I'd make my shake, make them breakfast, get my daughter ready for school, get my kids off to school, blah, blah, blah. We do all of that, take them to school, and I would come back and hurry and do a quick shower, while the kids were doing something else. But I'd be fast at it. And then I would come back, and my morning time when the kids are the most awake, alert, happy is in the morning. And so with my toddlers, that was when I would go to my museum. I would go hiking. I'd play paints at home. We'd practice ABCs because I know they have about 90 minutes of really amazing, focused energy, awesomeness. And it's tempting to go, it's morning, we better get to work. Well, when you're a mom of littles, you have to reverse your schedule a little bit sometimes and go, no, they're the most important. So I would do that. And if I would just give my kids eyeball time and really focus on them, and when they're talking to me, my phone wasn't near me, I'd put it away and I would just focus on them and I'd be present and I would communicate with them, then they wouldn't need me as much later on. They were less whiny, less naggy, less whatever. Kids start to whine and nag and pull on you when they feel like that you're not paying attention to them. That's my opinion. Okay, so that was till like 10, 10:30, 11. Then I come home we'd make them lunch. And then my kids, when they were little, they would go down for a nap. So during nap time, that is go mode, right? So we would do go mode, and I'll go into that just in a second. Then they would wake up from nap. And again, that's when I put my phone away. I go get my daughter from school or whatever. And we would do that as homework, dinner prep, run to the grocery store. They would come with me to the grocery store. They'd come with me to go mail packages at the UPS store, and they knew what we were doing. And that's when we would do errands. And then at night was usually like activities, right? Dance class or kids baseball or whatever we were doing at night. So we'd go do that, dinner, and then after we would do the bath time routine or whatever. Then when they were in bed, I would go back in and follow up, and I'd take like an hour or two at night. So with that being said, you got to be flexible throughout the day. So if there are times when you're like, we're watching Elmo, you don't need to be fully present watching Elmo. Sit next to them and work on your phone and create a post and answer text messages. Make it fast. If you're going to be answering texts, do all of your texts at once. So you're copy pasting or whatever, doing quick voice things back and forth. And so you're in that brain mode right then. If you're in creative mode, which means you're creating content for Instagram or you're creating content for your groups or whatever, stay in creative. Don't bounce from creative to replying to a text to, oh, that was posted in this group. Oh, don't bounce around, because that's harder for your brain to focus and you have less productivity when you do that. So that's kind of how my day went. So second thing to write down, do revenue building activities first. Always first. You don't open your business. You didn't work your business at all today unless you did these things. Expand. I knew that if I wanted to grow, I had to grow my network, period. So my goal was always to get as many eyes on my crap as possible. So that meant if I was going to create a piece of content, I was going to use that piece of content for YouTube, for Pinterest, for Facebook, for Instagram, for my groups. And I would figure out how to get as many people on it, whether it was using ads or posting it in various groups or whatever, like making it share, kind of thing. Expand your network. Number 2, of course, we're connecting. We're using birthday messages and connecting back to people, liking and commenting on our stuff. And so we're engaging. But number 3, invite. And I hate that we shy away from inviting and follow up. Why? Inviting will always work. It always works. And if your business isn't growing, it's because you're not inviting and following up, period. It's on you. And then the secret sauce here, though, for me, was duplication. If I learned it or did it and it had success, I needed to teach it to 2 people. So what that means is, like, if I had a message that worked and somebody signed up on my team or joined my group, I would copy the text or whatever, screenshot what I did, and I would either post it in my team page or I'd send it to a new coach. And everything I learned, if I heard something from a PD or like a podcast or a book that was really helpful or impactful for me, I would send it out to 2 people. Duplicate, because you are only going to take this so far. Your team is going to take you the majority of the way. Duplicate. You have to learn to be the leader or the mom, the wife, whatever, that you wanted to have. So with me, I was a habitual quitter, remember? I didn't have success at all in my adulthood. I didn't know how to lead a team, but I wanted to, and that's half the battle. Everything in Beachbody you can learn. Everything's a skill. Even being a person that's likable is a skill. And so the books I loved were Entree Leadership and 12 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. That book really, really changed who I was as a leader. So I knew in order to grow my team, I had to grow as a leader. And one of those things is the speed of the leader is the speed of the pack, right? So I had to pace myself in front of everyone. If I wanted somebody to hit Success Club 20, I needed to hit 25. And I just knew that. If you're hitting Success Club 10, your team's probably going to hit Success Club 6. You're signing up 2 coaches a month, your team signing 0. And then you're like, I don't know why we're not growing. Well, it's because you're not growing. And I know that from personal experience. When I don't grow, they don't grow. So learn to be the leader that you want to have. And stop blaming your upline. Stop it. It's no one else's fault but your own. Okay. So the 4th thing, show up. So I showed up. I told you that I left my husband, took my kids, showed up on the National Wake Up Call and hosted that Monday. But there were times when I showed up when it was ridiculous. Like, why are you showing up, Emma? And for example, we moved from Hawaii to California. We are in the place where the car's imported and the National Wake Up Call was starting. I'm not hosting. I was just listening in. And we're in there and our suitcases are all over with car seats and whatever because my kids are teeny tiny. And I am sitting there. There's a picture of me sitting there on my phone, listening to the National Wake Up Call, taking notes. And I posted it in my team page. I'm like, guys, if I can do this while I'm literally in transit, so can you. And that created the team culture that we show up. We show up to Super Saturday. We show up to, I would incentivize people, like if they earned Success Club in the previous month for Super Saturday, then they would get like a team shirt or hat to wear at their Super Saturday. They take a selfie and post it in our group page. It was really fun, building team culture. So we show up, we hosted team retreats. We went to Summit and we had parties, like gathered the team together. We did team calls. And so you show up and you show that you're gathering. You show up with your people so it's not just you by yourself. You bring them in. Whoever's willing to come, bring them on in. And whether that's in person or online. Okay. Number 5, you have to think in a way that's abundantly. And I know this is so stinking cliche, but it's true. When you're in motherhood mode, it's easy to use the words, I'm overwhelmed. There's too much to do. I'm never going to get this done. I can't do this. Have you ever said any of those words? But if you use, instead of saying, this isn't going to work, I don't know how this will work, flip it and say, how can this work? What can I do? What do I need to learn in order to make this happen? And by doing that, then it changes everything for you. And I do that with my kids all the time. When they're like, I can't do this, I say, let's flip that around. What can you do? How can this work? And as soon as I say that, they go, well, we could try this. And do the same thing for yourself. Put prayer and meditation into your day. And ask yourself, when you get anxious, when you get overwhelmed or whatever, ask yourself, is this the most important thing I need to be doing at this point right now? Review your priority list and your goal list in your mind and ask yourself, are you in alignment with that? And it's easy to work. It's easy to do all the work all the time. I truly believe if we pause and we are focused on our family in the right times of the day when we're supposed to be focused on our family and we do less work at times, we'll be blessed. We're going to do better work. And we're going to honor those priorities. And I believe the universe or God or whatever you believe in will bless you for that. With that being said, you do need to do the work. So over a course of a week, you should be inviting, depending on what your goals are. Right now, my goal is at least 100 people a week. 10 a day, or 100 people a week on average. Sometimes that's a bulk invite of like 50 a day. Sometimes I spread it out. It just depends on what's happening with my life and my kids that day. And that's what's cool about this. But over the course of a week, not the month, the week, you need to make sure that you are consistent. You are consistently doing those things. But pause and ask yourself, is this the most important thing I need to be doing right now? And if my team did what I did today, would they grow? At night, I brain dump. You guys do this? You write down everything you need to do the next day. The most important things get starred, highlighted, or whatever, and put in time chunks on your schedule. Those get blocked out as has to be done, right? The rest are niceties. If you get those done, then you can go do the other things. And those have to be revenue building activities first. So don't go create a YouTube video before you invite. Don't go post in this group, with all the leaders where you love to hang out before you invite. You invite first. Those are the most important things. Along with my brain dump at night, I do a gratitude journal. And I call this my evidence gratitude journal. And I write down 3 things every single day that show I made progress towards our goals as a family and with my business or physical health or whatever. 3 things that show evidence towards how I made progress. By doing that, you train your brain to go, yes, you can. Yes, you are. This is happening. And it really does help to put you in that leadership mindset. Okay, the last thing that was probably the biggest key to my success is that I said no when I needed to. This may not be the season, depending on where you're at with motherhood and life. This may not be the season that you are volunteering as much at the school. That's okay. Oh well, you can do it later. This may not be the season where you're hosting Pinterest perfect birthday parties. If that makes you happy, get on it. It didn't make me happy. I was doing that. So instead, what I did was I was like, you know what else works? We meet at the trampoline park for birthday parties, and I literally give $5 out as goodie bags now. The goodie bags that you get at birthday parties with like stupid stickers and candy, and y'all just throw them away anyway. I was like, that is expensive stuff. They're just thrown away, and it takes forever to go get all that crap. So I did that, and it was time consuming, and I hated it, and the kids didn't really care. And so now we go do something that's a lot easier and less time consuming, and it just works for me. But I asked for help. So I did hire an assistant that would do like shout outs, pre-scheduled group posts, and do those things that I didn't need to have my face in or need to do. I hired an assistant, and there's different places you can find one. If you need recommendations, we can let you know where to find a good assistant. And I hired an assistant when I became a diamond. Wasn't in the budget, but it definitely helped me to grow by just taking that off of me, because it allowed me to be in the growth mindset, or to be in the growth mode that I was good at, which was conversations, recruiting to my team, and helping people get results. And it was worth it because I divided up and I figured out how much I'd make an hour if I was in growth mode. Like if I worked for 15 minutes and sold a challenge pack, that would give me $50. Well, if I worked for 15 minutes on my stupid reports, I would not even be done. I made zero money and caused me anxiety because I hate them. So outsource that baby. Outsource. I also hired a cleaning lady. I just did that this year. I don't know why I did not do that earlier. Worth every penny. And while they're here, I make sure that I earn the money. I sell challenge packs to earn the money to pay for them. So I don't feel bad at all. And that way I just, in my brain, it's like, that's done. It feels really good. But when I was a new mom and it was a little bit different, one of the ways I asked for help is I asked people in my community that I trusted if we could do a childcare swap. Like one day a week, I will take your kids for 4 to 5 hours, and then you'll take my kids for 4 to 5 hours. And so it was free, and I could go do whatever I wanted. So sometimes I used that time and I literally went shopping on my own and just had a me morning or whatever. Or that was the time that I used to do team calls, to do videos. I would get my hair and makeup done and I would create 5 training videos or workout videos or whatever, and edit all those and have those done. Things that I know if I tried to start with kids around, they would interrupt. They interrupt all the time. So having somebody that you swap childcare with, that you trust, then it's free. That was really helpful for me. And so they would take mine, I would take theirs, and that gave me that specific time during the week that I could just focus on my business and do those things like training calls, team calls, create video, create content, and whatever. and not feel like I was pulled. And before I would go into that space on that day, I had prepped everything the night before. So when the camera was on, I knew exactly what I was doing, and I wouldn't waste any of my precious time. But with that being said, you're a mom. If your kid shows up in your video, don't get pissed off at them. They don't know any better. All they know is that they want mommy, right? And so you can kindly say, mommy's on a video, whatever. Can you come back? Or just bring them in. Most of my videos have my kids in them. And I would just bring them on and I let, see, we're talking to the people. See the people, say hi. Okay, so now you can sit here if you're going to be quiet, okay? Okay, great. And they would sit there and be quiet. And then we would do the training. And people got to see me as a mother, a real mother, full-time, hands-on. They're always with me. And how do I do this? Right? Because that's what we sell. You can stay home with your kids. You can be a stay-at-home mom and be a CEO. Show them how. That's probably a big pet peeve of mine, that when I see people that are saying those words and yet their kids aren't first. And that makes me sad, because I don't want my kids to grow up and think that my business was more important to them more important than them. I want my kids to know mom did this business for them. Mom changed lives. Mom did all these things, but they knew how important they were too, because I didn't treat them like they couldn't be a part of this. I brought them into this. This business is for our families. Get them involved. And if you have to, sometimes reschedule a call. If you have a kid that's sick or really having a really bad day and breaking down and whatever, be like, guys, I wish I could do this, but I'm not my best self today, and neither is he, and he needs me. I'm sorry, let's reschedule. That's why we do this business. Anyway, I think I'm running a little long, but those are some of my tips and takeaways. I don't know if that was helpful or not, but I can tell you this: it's been 100% worth it for me to be able to look in my kids' eyes. Now I'm a full-time single mom. Nobody helps me at all. It's been that way for a while now, and I get to look in my kids' eyes and go, mommy's got you. We want to make these dreams come true. Mommy can do that. Oh yeah, and mommy still volunteers at the school. Oh yeah, and I'm still here if you get sick and you need to stay home. Oh yeah. And it's been really nice to be able to have both things and to be able to work that balance, or whatever you want to call it. I hate the word balance. I don't know what you want to say, but to be both things. Anyway, I will turn the time over to the amazing Izzy. And then if you guys do have any questions for me, just put them in the chat and I'll answer them at the end. Okay. Hopefully it helps.
You're amazing. Seriously. The things that you've been through with your family, and I know like you're really proud of yourself. You should be, but I honestly don't think I've heard one coach's story of working through that kind of stuff. And obviously we don't know the whole story, and that's perfectly acceptable and respectable. What you've achieved is phenomenal. And I think it just calls every single one of us out on, oh, I can't do it because of this, and I can't do it because of that. Like, no, anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. And, you're an absolute inspiration. You really, really are. And, listening to you talk like that, it's really moving to see what you've achieved despite all of that change, all of those difficulties in your life. And I really relate to that for different reasons. And it kind of, as I said, when we started the call, like Emma and I we just clicked. We didn't really talk that much, but I just was like, she's just my kind of girl. Like when you just click with someone, and I kind of see now that actually, in a way, our stories are completely different, but they're similar in a way. And that is that, and I'll tell my story because I think obviously you guys who don't know me, I want to share my story so you can understand the context. When I came into the Beachbody business, I was at a similar phase of my life. So I just had my little boy, and I'd had a really big career. So I'm quite different from Emma in that respect. So I was like I was like the mum who was really worried about being a mum because career was part of my identity. Ever since I was a little girl, I would come through the front door with my homework and I'd say to my mum, tick and sign my book. Like I was always that girl. And so I suppose it probably comes as no surprise that I was a real career girl. And when I had my little boy, we had to have a full-time nanny, and I saw him for half an hour every day. And I would get in the car every Friday, to leave London, and I would literally just burst into tears. And my husband was like, "This, you just can't continue like this." And actually, one day when I'd got home, I had Arthur on my hip, and he was 9 months old, and I had this client screaming at me because something had gone wrong with a deal, because I was in the property industry, and one of my team had just left it and not told me anything about what was going on, and that moment was literally like the straw that broke the camel's back. And my husband got back that night, and I said, I'm quitting. I'm not doing this anymore. That's not okay. Like, I haven't seen my son all day. I don't even feel like a mother, and I'm not doing it. And we have a big mortgage to pay here. We still have a big mortgage to pay here. And I said, there's got to be another way, because I'm not doing this. And, my husband was like, well, we can't. And I said, well, we're going to have to, because I'm not going to even be here to be a parent. So I retrained as a personal trainer. And I knew when I did that I'd have to get a certain amount of classes and PTs pretty much right out the gate from qualifying, because we had this like financial need for me to cover certain element of the mortgage. I was kind of the 50% breadwinner. So I started Beachbody really as an aside. So I was a PT. I wanted to set up a PT account. I really, I'd got into Instagram a little bit, and I liked what people were doing with their fitness. And like Emma, I'd actually done Beachbody. So I'd done the Insanity DVDs. I'd seen it on an infomercial when we were traveling around the States before we had Arthur. And so I started that way. And I actually started probably similarly to Emma, because I think we all realize this, like when we come into this, we are looking for something more, and often we don't know what that more is. But I genuinely believe that each and every single person that comes into this business is looking for something more. And like Emma said, like, I was a new mum trying to find my way in the world. I'd kind of given up this big career that was a huge part of me, and I was always like, I'm that career girl, and that was kind of gone, and I was really lost at that point. So I came across the opportunity on Instagram. And I honestly just started doing it for me. Like, much like Emma, I was a gymnast. Like, I always knew that for my mindset, I needed to keep fit and active. And, when my mum was around, she always used to say, Izzy, when you get stressed out, you need to exercise. That's the way you've always been. And that is the way that I am. So it's my way that I deal with stress. It's my way that I deal with trauma. And what's really ironic and really sad about that is that 3 months into the journey, my mum had a brain aneurysm, and I got a call at midnight, and she never woke up again. So I'd started 80-Day Obsession. I think I was about a third of the way in, and we just knew she wasn't going to recover, and they were talking about turning the machine off. And I dug in so hard to 80-Day Obsession, because I knew, and in a similar yet very different vein to what Emma said, I knew it was the only thing that I could rely on to be stable, to carry me through what I knew was going to be the most horrific experience of my life. Like, my mum was my best friend. The youngest of three, we were very close. And I'm still dealing with that now. And I think it's important to tell you guys that. And so I lent in. And that's when I didn't go all in, because clearly I was dealing with massive trauma, massive loss. But I saw what that did for me. And I saw what it literally saved me. Like, I say today, and I'll always stand by that, if it wasn't for this opportunity, I don't know where I would be for my family right now. Probably not in a very good place whatsoever. And I dug in so hard. And I always say this to my guys. And I know one of my girls said this earlier. She's just gone diamond. She says, lean in, lean in. If you're having a hard time, lean in. Do not lean out. Lean in, lean in, lean in. Recommit, recommit, recommit. Because as Emma said earlier on, that focus is actually what's going to save you, and it's going to be your baby and your thing, no matter what it is. If you're going through trauma in your life, I genuinely believe that. And I hear it kind of time and time again. So I obviously, I'm still moving through that. Mum passed away. And then we had the funeral, I think, kind of middle of June, end of June. And I sort of said to myself, and it was like Emma said, like, her decision to go all in. I was like, this is what I want to do. I don't want to do the PT. I don't want to do classes. There's only so many people I can help. There's, when my son's sick, or a client's sick, or they're on holiday, or they get injured or whatever, I don't get paid. And that's not good for family life. And also, like, I was doing these classes, and I was having to get up really early in the morning. I was having to leave and go and teach boot camps in the freezing cold. And I had seen the power of the opportunity because of what it had done for me when I was dealing with the most horrific experience of my life. And that made me incredibly passionate about it. And so I went all in. And actually what I'm going to talk to you guys about, and I don't know kind of what level, emerald, diamond, you know, just a new coach we have here, but it doesn't really matter. My decision to go all in was a decision. And before that, I thought I'd been all in, but I wasn't really. And so, as Emma said, like, I decided, you know, I watched every single national wake up call. I think that's absolutely crucial. We all know that. But I decided that there was nothing in that moment that was going to stop me being unbelievably successful with this business, because in my head, I was like, I'd moved through losing my mum through this business. I'd still managed to hit Success Club. I'd still shown up every day. I'd still posted every day. Yeah, like I wasn't sharing everything that was going on because honestly, it was too hard. And for a long time after mum passed away, I didn't really share it because it was too hard for me. But I showed up because I was not willing to not have this thing to turn to, which was actually bringing me so much joy, much like Emma said. And so when people say to me, oh, I've just been a bit off my game, haven't posted, I'm like, sorry, I don't buy it. Like, I show up every day, no matter what. And I'm not saying you have to share everything that's going on in your life, because honestly, like, sometimes it's not right. Sometimes and I genuinely believe, like, yes, be you, share you, but share you when you want to share you. Because if you're sharing stuff that you don't feel comfortable with sharing, then that's not authentic either. And so that decision, you know, how I've built, I know Emma wanted me to cover kind of how I built. It was a decision. And so I just looked at how I was running my business. I was kind of sitting kind of wherever. I was very lackadaisical. So I didn't really have any form of, well, you know, I might do like follow-ups twice a week. And I actually, at that time, maybe the business activity tracker didn't exist, or maybe it didn't, but it did, and I just wasn't aware of it. I knew that I needed to level up, and I decided that I was going to set myself these goals, and these goals were going to be non-negotiable goals, because I wanted and needed to reel back on the PT and the classes, because it wasn't bringing me joy. It wasn't making me happy. It was burning me out. I was having to like dump Arthur in preschool, like pick him up, go to these classes, then the PT. Then honestly, I was so exhausted. And so for me, I worked out, and I said this to my guys on a team call on Sunday, and I think if you want to build, you're not going to really have that fire under your backside unless you've got a real tangible goal that you're working towards, and why, and know why you're working towards it. So for me, I was like, I have to earn X in order to quit Y. And so I worked that out, and I wanted to build a team. I love to build a team. Like, my background is having a team, and because I'd seen the power of the opportunity, I wanted to run boot camps. But more than anything, I wanted to give people the opportunity that I'd been given that had actually saved me. And so that's where my passion for building a team came from, because I was like, I need other girls to have this in their life who also need it just as I did. And I didn't know I needed it until what happened. So I set myself big goals. Success Club 30, I'll be honest, but it doesn't really matter what the goal is. And this was something that Arno said to me, actually. Arno Nakahad. I spoke to him when I was just Diamond this time last year. And I said, I'm going to try to hit success. I'm going to try and do my best. And he said, Izzy, stop saying you're going to try. Stop saying like you'll do your best. Just say you're going to do it. Because if you say you're going to do it, the intention is completely different. And that one single piece of advice was probably the one single thing that completely transformed the approach and my ability to actually smash every single goal I set myself. And I couldn't believe it. So it's not just getting pen to paper, guys. And I know, like, with my team, they do very similar in terms of like morning, miracle morning, all that affirmation stuff. It's not just writing it down. I am going to do X and Y. Like, I would write down my goals for the day, the week, you know, the month. But then when you're walking around in day-to-day life, you need to start calling yourself out on when you're talking. And this is something that Jen Sincero says, and I think this is so, so crucial to actually achieving those objectives. And if you want to build a team, achieving them, being really conscious of what's going on in here, whether or not you're speaking out loud, because we say things to ourselves like, I'm really trying, I'm doing my best. That to me just suddenly was like, I wasn't allowed to say that phrase doesn't exist. And if I hear someone say it now, I really like, I immediately pick up on it because my brain is tuned into it. So I do think there's a point where you go all in, and that, but going all in isn't enough. You have to decide that you're going to level up. As Emma said, like, she started that new year and she was going to level up. And so it's right. Okay. The simplest way that I can tell you guys how I motivated myself was, I am a 10-star diamond coach. And if you execute your business in the way that you're a 10-star diamond coach, you call yourself out on so much stuff that you're doing that you just automatically level up. So any snapshot of the day, I am a 10-star diamond coach. Okay, are we behaving like one? Like, I would call myself out on my Instagram grid, and I was like, that's really not what a 10-star diamond coach should be doing. Like, even my stories, and I know, yeah, like, that's effort. But if you really want this and you want to build a business and you want to have this amazing life for your family, then I'm going to be honest, like, you have to put the effort in. It's not just gonna happen. It's not just gonna land in your lap. So doing a vision board but then not following it up with the action, it's just not going to work. And so I then worked out where I was going to sacrifice and what I needed to do to level up. So I created a space. Like, I still don't have an office. I'm not in a position where we're about to move house. We'll have an office when we eventually move house. We've had subsidence with the house as well. That's another story. But I decided that I was going to dedicate a space to me that felt really like professional, and the easiest way that I could kind of draw comparison was thinking about how my corporate life was when I was a director. And I don't know whether you guys, worked in an office environment. I'm sure most of you probably have. Call yourself out. In that office environment, when you were working on someone else's clock, were you doing some of the stuff that you're doing now, which is like, oh, okay, well, it doesn't really matter? Because the thing is, and this is the scariest thing of all, when we work on our own time and we are in our own space, we do stuff that would never be acceptable in a corporate environment. Yet the corporate environment, we're working for them. We're working to fill their back pockets. This opportunity, you're working to fill your own. So level up. Like, call yourself out. What are you doing that is not actually acceptable for building a 6 or 7 figure business, if indeed that's what you want to do? And so that space, when I created that office space, I even in my corporate job, I'm like a girl that loves these motivational quotes, to the point that people probably think I'm the cheesiest person on this planet. But quite frankly, I don't really care, because you're not my person if you don't like those kind of quotes. Like, I love cheesy quotes. Like, I'm all about it. It floats my boat. And so that was what I did. And I got my pens, I got my notepads, I got organized. I behaved like that boss. I swapped my Hewlett-Packard for a MacBook. I couldn't afford it. Much like Emma, I paid for it in my overdraft. And I think this is the other thing. Like, when you start to get into that mindset of put your skin in the game, that's when you'll level up. If you're not willing to put skin in the game, then you're never going to level up, because you don't have that fire under your backside. So, and I know, like, Lindsay's on the call, she knows about this, but last year in October, when I decided to level up, I teamed up with Claire, who's my success partner for quite a long time. And she is in the States, in America. And I said to my husband, probably like 2 months after I was kind of getting over Mum's death, and I said to Guy, like, shall I just say to Claire that I'll travel to the States and we can do a sneak peek, and like, we'll get an Airbnb. And my husband, who is quite, he's quite businessman, was like, if you think it's a good investment of the money and you think you'll make it back, then yeah. Now that was £1,000. That's like $1,200 all in. That was massive. I was an emerald coach. I wasn't even diamond. We didn't have the money to pay for it. I paid for it in my overdraft, and I was like, I'm going to make it back. I will make it back. And that energy, I can't explain or describe that energy. When you've put that out there, you almost, like, you feel physically sick. It's really scary. But that kind of stuff, guys, is what forces you to level up. And that forced me to level up. And I went to the States. I did the sneak peek. That sneak peek, I still send out to people today. I still enroll coaches with that sneak peek. And I went from diamond to 1-star to 2-star to 3-star by the end of May. And that is because I put skin in the game. I just was like, do you know what? I'm absolutely terrified. I'm terrified. Like, this is, I was a relatively new coach. I wasn't even a year a coach. Like, but I have always trusted the business. I've always trusted the process. I've never been a skeptic. And I think, that for some of us, that comes more naturally than others. But I didn't care what other people said. Like, I didn't even discuss it with my family. Quite frankly, my family would have thought I'd gone crazy. I think probably they still think I've gone slightly crazy, but they aren't you. And I think the moment that you learn to trust your gut and your intuition, you get a sense for what you should be doing, but you have this, this kind of person, whatever it might be, on your shoulder trying to hold you back. And the quicker that you can kind of literally rip that off and push yourself out there, That's how you're going to propel yourself. And I think, you know, as Emma said, like, if you don't do X number of invites on X day, then they go into the next day, or there is a total that has to happen for the week. And that's how I execute my business. Like, you know, I've had like a sinus thing for ages, and it's meant that I've got a little bit of ground down, but there are still non-negotiables that happen in my business. And I think it's so important, like whether or not you work full-time or part-time, that you start to make a game plan and you understand what needs to go in to achieve a certain result on the basis of your previous performance, because obviously that's all you have to go by, and not let yourself off the hook. Yeah, like, incredibly difficult things happen. Like, we have young children, you know, my son's had chickenpox. It's, you know, he's been off preschool for basically 2 weeks. That hasn't stopped me. Yes, as Emma said, like, I work differently, but I still got that stuff done. And it means, yeah, in the evening I see less of my husband because I'm making up for the time that I haven't managed to have because I've been looking after my son. But you also need to be really clear on your vision. And this is something that I go on and on and on and on about. Because without a vision and without an idea of where you're going with this, and if you're just getting your business activity tracker out and you're writing your goal for the month, there is no emotional connection to that. And therefore, there's no fuel under your backside. There's nothing driving you. And so when I started, like, no one had ever spoken to me about vision. I didn't even know what it was. I hadn't done it in my corporate career. But when I actually did that vision board and I wrote down my vision every day and I connected with it, down to the last detail, like where we're going to live, where we're going to have our holiday home, like what school Arthur's going to go to, how much does it cost, you know, what kind of school do I want him to go to. And, you know, that's my vision, right? I'm not saying you should have the same vision, but it's so important that it's personal to you. So please don't do what I think a lot of people do, and that is, oh, that person's got that vision, I think I'll pick bits from that and that can be my vision, because you're not going to connect with it. And when the going gets tough, which it does get tough, you're just going to let yourself off the hook. And that, you know, that mindset piece is absolutely huge. And I know for me, that's been huge. I've learned an enormous amount about myself in, you know, 20 months that I've been doing this. I naturally am probably not a very upbeat person. You know, I am quite an up and down person. I'll be honest about that. That's just the way I am. And actually, I've learned to manage that. And I've learned that actually, if I pour into myself in the morning, and as Emma said, like, do you first before you help others, you feel indestructible, because you know nothing can stop you, because your strength of mind becomes so strong that the day can throw anything at you and you'll still come out flying, and you'll still get up the next day and you'll still do it. And I think that is the linchpin to success, because if you don't work on you and you're like, do you know what, I just don't feel like doing that meditation today, I just don't feel like doing personal development, well, you may as well give up on your business, because your business needs you, your team needs you. And you better bet, if you've got this big vision and you want to have this amazing team, that when you build that team needs you to be the best version of yourself. So if you can't do that for you now, you're not kind of throwing it out to the universe that you're going to be able to hack it and handle it when you have that big team who actually need you to be that person. So work on you no matter what, and believe in yourself. Like, I had years of not believing in myself. I was the youngest of three. I was very creative. I wanted to do drama, textiles, and sports. And my parents were really academic. And I got forced down this academic route. I have a lot of teachers and lawyers in my family. You know, I was made to do these subjects, not because they didn't love me, quite the opposite. They just wanted the best for me. But that made me doubt myself, because everything that I'd ever wanted to do in life as a child, I got told I couldn't do. And that wasn't for me, and I wasn't accepted for who I was. And so I really lacked self-belief. And to a certain degree, I do still now, but I work on it. And what this opportunity has given me is the strongest self-belief I've ever had in my life. So don't underestimate that. Like, no matter how like broken we are, you know, we can all be unbelievably successful. Because I was that girl that was just constantly hitting my head against a brick wall, constantly unhappy, constantly anxious. And it's because I wasn't accepted for who I was. And yes, like, it's not easy, guys. It's not easy when you've, you know, and I'm sure we've got people on here who've been pushed into a mold. I think a lot of, you know, our parenting, that they just want the best for us. So they don't want us to do kind of creative things because it's not safe and all of the rest of it. And you have to be willing to get comfortable with knowing that some people aren't going to like what you're doing as well. And I think that is something that will really railroad you off your success if you allow it to. And so that's why your vision needs to be really strong. That's why your why needs to be really strong. That's why you need to show up no matter what. Even if in the beginning, like sedimenting that kind of routine is really, really hard, you have to push through that, because otherwise you're getting on the wheel, you're getting off the wheel, you're getting on the wheel, you're getting off the wheel, and it's just, you're exhausting yourself. And I think other than that, just be willing to embrace who you are through the journey. Be willing to embrace who you are from day one, and be willing to embrace that person as they change and grow through, like for me, month 20. Like I look at where I was on day one, and I haven't ever been untrue to who I am with the way that I present myself on social media, with the way that I post. But the way that I post has changed because I've changed. And that's the joy and beauty of what we do, because people can see that you grow and you change and you go through all of this stuff. And I think don't compare yourself to others. Comparison is the thief of joy, but comparison is a thief of success as well. And I've learned that. Like, I'm naturally a very competitive person. And so if I see someone in my team doing really well, or, you know, and I start to really focus in on them and I look at their Instagram all the time and I'm looking at all of their stories and everything else, I just go off the boil because I'm not focusing on me. And the final thing I'm going to say for success and leading a team that I haven't touched on at all, but is absolutely huge. If you haven't run a sneak peek and you haven't led your own group, do it. Because that number one thing was what I would never ever have done a sneak peek in my life if my coach hadn't almost made us do it in a diamond push group. And I was absolutely terrified. We did a live group in Facebook. I was terrified of doing videos, honestly. And now I love doing IGTV, and it's opened up a whole area of creativity that I love, that I always told myself I hated, because actually I was terrified of it because I wasn't confident with it. But you have to confront the stuff that you're least confident with, because unless you're willing to confront that stuff, you won't grow. And doing that sneak peek, that first sneak peek, I'll be honest, it was a nosedive. It was awful. But Claire and I came out of that sneak peek feeling amazing because we'd actually done it, and it didn't matter if it wasn't perfect. So lean into your team, see who else is where you are in your business, and just take control. Be that leader. Don't rely on Emma to, and I'm sure she doesn't do this, but don't rely on her to do everything for you, because you'll never be that leader, and you'll never be, that person at Summit who achieves all these incredible things unless you are willing to be that leader. Don't wait for your leader to do everything for you, because the whole idea and beauty of this business is that it's you, and you find more use, and you'll find more use if you are leading the thing yourself. If you're allowing your coach to lead the thing for you, you're not really going to attract more yous, you're going to attract more thems. And that is what I love so much about this. Like, Donna, who's, I think she's had to go, but she started in this business in February, and she's just become diamond. And the thing that I love about that is that I led that sneak peek, and she connected with me and my story. And she is so like me and her story, almost to the T, because I've attracted her in. So just rip the Band-Aid off. I don't care how much fear you have. I don't care how terrified you are. I don't care if you're sick. Like, do the sneak peek, because that one thing is what propelled me to start just constantly pushing myself out of that comfort zone and actually being that leader, and not turning to my upline, not relying on her for training, not relying on her, honestly, for anything. I don't rely on her for anything to this day. And I think the quicker that you can, yes, great if you've got a great team page, and I'm not saying like don't move away from it or move away from it. What I'm saying is be that leader for somebody else, be that leader for you, and just think about the kind of amazing, incredible network that you're going to create as the leader of that team if you level up and you show who you are, even at your phase of the journey. Because at your phase of the journey, you're going to attract more views at your phase of the journey, and you're just going to build and grow. And it's that part of it is magical. It really, really is.
I completely agree with what you're saying. And I jotted down a couple of things. I remember being a newish leader, like a Ruby Emerald leader, and going, okay, I'm fired up. I am so excited. Just do it. What do I do? And so the coolest part about this business is that when you do truly work on yourself, like Izzy's been talking about, and I just feel fired up from her energy. Don't you guys? Like, just having her here, sharing her bits. I'm like, yes, we can all do this thing. Woo! But when you work on you, you find your voice. And that's what's cool, is that the more you work on yourself, that you'll find your voice, and then you'll know what to say when you're inviting to your team. You'll know what you're passionate about. You'll know why you're starting. Why the hell are you starting a challenge group in January? When you work on yourself, you'll realize your why. Like, why am I starting bar? It's very individual for me. It's because I was told I wasn't a good dancer when I was a kid. That's why I want to do it, so that I can prove that I am. Like, I'm flexible and graceful and whatever. So it's my story, my voice, but I couldn't have found that unless I did the work. So pause and think about that. Your voice comes out when you do the work. Another thing is that I jotted down here is that when you put yourself, you start to earn these basic milestones we talk about all the time, like the Success Club trip, the New Leader Conference, you get to invite to do diamond events at Super Saturdays or whatever. You'll be put into these mastermind groups when you're like 1 star and above. And when you work with people that are like-minded, you will rise. You're going to hear what you need to hear, feel what you need to feel at these events. Like, I went to leadership. I wasn't going to go because I couldn't find childcare, and it was a whole thing. I'm so glad I went because I met Izzy. And when I was there, I met other people and I heard things that I needed to hear, but I wouldn't have been invited to leadership unless I earned it. I did the work. Do the basic work. And the work is your Success Club tracker. That's it. Those are the things. What you say to people, what you're inviting to, completely 100% up to you with what you want to do. And that's what's cool about this business. And then the last thing is, when the thing that I want to leave us all with here is, you don't have to do any of this. You don't have to do this business. You don't have to work out today. You don't have to read personal development. You don't have to invite anyone to your team. But if you don't, you're choosing to not grow. You're choosing to let your dream go. That's okay. You can make that choice. I was talking to a coach yesterday, and she's like, Emma, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know where to focus. And I said, and I looked at her, or I was talking to her, and I said, stop it. You just gave away all your control. Your control over your life, your control over your business, your control over your house, your control over every single thing that's happening. Stop talking about all the overwhelm. Stop talking about not knowing what to do. Yes, you do. You know what to do, because we talk about it from the day you sign up to coach. You're going to work on yourself and do the vital behaviors. You're going to invite people to join you, and you're going to be consistent with these actions. Stop giving your control away. Stop it. And pause, meditate, go back to your vision, go back to your dream, and ask yourself, do I want my dream bad enough to do the work that it takes to get there? If you don't, that's okay. Give yourself permission to bow out. But if you do, the only person that's going to hold you accountable is you. It's what you do when no one's watching. It's the mindset you have when nobody's watching. It's catching yourself in those moments of limiting belief and doubt, and pushing on a deadline when you don't know if you can make it, but you really know that it will be good for you to go to New Leader Conference this year, or it'll be good for you to show up to Super Saturday 5 hours away, or whatever it might be. Are you willing to do that? And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, because y'all are still listening to us an hour later. So you are the cream of the crop. So I appreciate you. But those things I think are really, really important. And I didn't hit on those. And then I think the last thing I would say is, if you don't know how to do something, that's okay. John Maxwell said at the first summit I went to, and it made me bawl. And he said, you're not supposed to be good the first time. It takes 10,000 times of doing something before you're good. So try it, fail, try it again, fail, ask for help from somebody that's really good at it, because there are a whole network of coaches that know how to do what you're trying to learn. Ask, hey, Izzy, I like the way you post on Instagram. How did you learn how to do that? Send a message, whatever. Ask, and then keep going until you learn the skill. It's all figure outable. Everything's figure outable. And that's what's so cool about this business. But as far as like what to do, how to talk to people, who to invite, all those things, those come when you find your own voice. And those come when you do the work and you show up. And it's kind of simple, right? Lather, rinse, repeat. And then boom, you're a million earner. Woohoo! But it goes very fast in reverse when you don't show up. Like I didn't show up. That whole money train can go right out the window. So I'm not perfect. I've definitely had my highs and lows in the business, but I'm still here because I still believe in what we do, and I believe in the opportunity. It's very, very magical. So Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. So honestly, thank you so much. It's been so amazing to have you chat. And yeah, I love your energy. It's incredible.
Me too. Let's work together again.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey,
For
let me
sure.
take a selfie, or not a selfie, a picture of all of us that are on here. I was going to take a picture, but I know I get pissed off when people snap a picture and post it online, and I'm always the girl like this.
I had my light ring in front of my computer.
So everybody unpause, show your faces, and I'll hurry and snap. Hello, Hal Weiss. That's Lindsay Weiss. Get on here, Lindsay Weiss. She's probably, oh, there you are. Hal's on here too. You're both here. Okay.
Hal's on?
Yeah. Hi, Hal.
Hi, Hal.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, cheese. Love you guys.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Live. Let's go do this thing.
Yeah.
Do it. Mama's got this. Woo. I should have recorded that.